we are back again for the ESL One Frankfurt seeding tournament happening here in Cologne. And we now have Honey joining us. Honey, it's great to have you here.
Thanks, it's great to be here indeed.
Well, we already had a lot of discussions pre and post games with you off camera, so it's great to get you inside now here on camera, so we don't just have to relay everything you're saying. What were your thoughts on the game we just saw?
On the... Are we talking about the secret game?
Yeah, exactly, the secret and IG game, because everyone else was like, we don't know what's happening with that lineup from Secret. You, however, I came off camera and you were instantly like, oh, Secret got that. That's easy, so obvious.
They're running a Zeus Bloodseeker strat. I'm very impressed with that. I mean...
That's something you have been running as well, right?
In fact, with my last team that I had in my professional career, I was playing that strat over and over, so I'm quite a big fan of that.
Why do you think
You're never
it works
quite
so well?
done with Dota. You're never quite done. There's always...
Oh, no one is retired until like 10 months after their retirement.
There's always a comeback.
TI6.
TI6.
Is this happening?
It's happening.
Is this happening?
I thought it's major one. You're coming back.
Major one?
Yeah.
Nah, that's too soon, man.
It's too soon.
I need some warm-up time.
I see.
I did actually bump into Cora, who was walking past our stage at the end of the last game, and he was just like, I didn't want to play that hero. He didn't want to have to play Wisp. And she said that they actually confused themselves on the draft and ended up just going with combinations they thought would work.
So lucky. That's so lucky.
Why did he not want to play it?
He wanted to play Bloodseeker.
Alright.
There's literally this. It's like I hated the game. I had to play Wisp. He wanted to play Bloodseeker.
We should have seen that one coming, right? When they had the Wisp and the Bloodseeker picked, we should have realized that's not a jungle Bloodseeker. Because
pretty much.
Probably doesn't play much Wisp, right?
That's true. But he could have jungled the Bloodseeker, I guess. Right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, but it's
he plays well in jungle.
If you see the Wisp, you at least know that it's not going to be a Bloodseeker jungle. If you see the Wisp as well, because
it's super greedy at least.
Like Skora is going to be the person that plays Wisp, and I doubt Poppy is going to be the Bloodseeker jungle when it was Kuro in the previous game.
I don't know. It's just Poppy has played so many heroes jungle that they could pull
and
that
a lot
out.
of teams, you know, they just make supports especially.
But it's
we saw Virtus.Pro. We had you know, when Visits is picked, Little won't play the Rubik and so forth and so forth.
That's Virtus.Pro and VG is actually the next game we have coming up for you. But before that, I actually want to quickly let you know that we are trying currently to fix the Dota 2 TV issues we are currently experiencing. So don't worry, we're onto this. We are aware of the issue, and it should hopefully be fixed for the next game, so everyone out there gets the full viewing experience.
We already packed the cable and took it to Frankfurt.
Oh no.
Need to get a new one.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's not the problem.
But sincere apologies on behalf of ESL, I suppose.
What's that?
I guess it's safe to say that there's severe apologies on behalf of ESL.
Severe apologies. Yeah. And sincere apologies.
Sincere, not severe. Sincere apologies. I started
we
off by
apologize.
We caps lock those apologies out to you guys. That's what's happening. But yeah, VGVP. That's going to be fun to cast due to the names already. What are your thoughts on those
I'm interested
teams so
to see
far?
how VG approach the draft up against VP. Like, we were talking about the Visage with what VP are capable of doing with that. We've seen a whole bunch of different combinations from Virtus.Pro. How does VG Gaming approach the game up against VP would be my first question.
In terms of the draft, I think a priority pick for both teams here might be the Rubik. I know I say it a lot, but it's also one of most favorable support heroes on most of the teams here. There are some few exceptions, but I don't think, like, when you have FY on one side and you have two players on Virtus.Pro who loves playing the Rubik, I think that's going to be one of the top picks.
How about I actually highlight two other heroes, because I'm thinking about these guys too. It's like Tusker as well as Spirit Breaker. For me, I'm wondering if these two guys are going to be the ones that really dictate the pace of the game if they get through the draft.
I think, yeah, depending on who, regardless, I think the Tusker might be banned, right? Regardless of who has first pick.
I think Tusker's been banned almost every single game, and when he hasn't, he's been picked in the first two.
Yeah.
So.
Do you feel like any team is comfortable letting Tusker go through at all? Like, is there any team which gives the impression they could deal with it?
Well, they let it. Who was it that played up against VG Gaming just before? It was Fnatic. Fnatic. They let it through.
Yeah.
And then you ended up getting Tusker.
That game really didn't go their way, did it?
No, it didn't. You gave Tusker to VG Gaming. They had a great old time.
I mean, if you look at how strong they are, I suppose Secret might.
I think it's still difficult to talk. Like, to me, Tusker is still one of those optional heroes. I mean, I guess it's a lot of teams scrimming against each other, having that hero in the pool. Not entirely sure why it's so strong. I talked to Notel yesterday about it, and he said that the reduction on the cooldown of ice shards was one major change.
I mean, it's incredibly hard to get away from, right? I think that's one of the...
What's the cooldown on it now?
It's reduced by 5 seconds. That's what I was told.
Oh, it was 5. Oh, that's really big then. Yeah.
Not a lot of spells can you reduce the cooldown by 5 seconds and not just be borderline imbalanced.
Oh yeah, it's 10 seconds on level 4 now, right? Or is this not updated? Because this is the in-game library.
That must be updated. I don't think there's like a 5-second cooldown on it, because then, you know, it's just about rushing arcane boots and spelling.
So 10-second cooldown on ice shards is definitely a big deal. How big a deal do you think it is, the change that made Snowball travel at the same movement speed regardless of how many people are in it? Like, how fast is it now? It's 650 or something? 675.
I mean, it's pretty good. Obviously, like you need less people to get that transport, whereas before, I think to average that speed or get up to that speed, about 4 people that you had to have in the Snowball, around there, 3. Probably
2 or 3, I think.
Yeah, so it's still quite a lot, but generally I would say it makes ganks a lot stronger just by 2-manning or even alone, snowballing alone. You often, it's safe to say that you get a stun off, I would say, on ganks.
Okay, which of the 2 teams do you guys feel would be more, not in need, but which one would love to have Tusker more? Like,
yes.
Because because like Vici actually did run Tusker and has been successful with them in the past, like whatever few games. However, Secret didn't really implement Tusker that much. If you look at the statistics, do you feel like Secret is after that hero at all? Like, are they unhappy when it's banned? Or
I think Secret are after any hero which they feel comfortable with or they want to play on the day. They'll take anything which is powerful, and everyone believes right now Tusker is, well, he is, not just believe, that he's powerful. So any team will be happy to take him as long as it can still synergize with the rest of the draft, with the rest of the plan they've got.
Yeah, it's probably a question of who's most comfortable playing against it, who feels like they have a way of dealing with it and everything. And I think in this matchup we're going into, I think it's more likely that Vici knows how to deal with it than Virtus.Pro. Okay,
looking at both of those teams, what do you think their master plan is in terms of shutting the other team down? I mean, against IG, we said like the whole Ferrari and Luo thing, like you need to shut them down. That did work. What's the plan for either of those teams in this very matchup now?
I think Vici will ban out Lil as much as they can. He's difficult to ban out entirely, but there's some of his key heroes that I think could really be annoying for them to deal with. I'm thinking the Visage might even be a first phase ban. It also was at Dream League in some games. They either ban or first phase pick the Rubik, like Jacob pointed out. And then, what is it Lil plays after that, generally? He does play the Tusk very well, too. So, you know, if you ban Tusk, Visage, and grab Rubik, that could be an approach to the game.
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to who has the first pick, because there's unnecessary bans that you need to commit, depending on whether you're the first or the second pick. So,
well, the first pick goes to VP in this game.
Yeah, so Vici might be forced to use a ban on the Tusk, first of all. And then secondly, it comes down to, do you ban out the Visage, do you ban the Wisp?
Or the Lesh?
I think a comfort pick to me, like if I would see VP going into their first phases or second phase, so for sure Visage. I think it went through the draft into the second phase in the previous game, which I felt like was a mistake. It shouldn't have happened, but I just hope to see in like Vici Gaming responding to that, or even picking it up themselves.
What do you prefer playing against yourself, though? Do you prefer playing up against a Visage, or would you rather play against a Wisp? And I think 9 out of 10 times the answer would be I'd prefer playing up against the Visage. I mean, they're both strong in their own right, but for vastly different reasons, and Wisp is a lot harder to deal with, I feel.
How good are VP with Wisp? I feel like in Dream League they actually gave it away to Na'Vi, and they didn't play it at all in the finals, in the best of 5. I think they actually ignored it.
I think they've down-prioritized it. They, like, if you had asked me a month ago, I said they were really good with it, but they don't seem to be favoring it much anymore.
Well, the picks and bans actually just started, and we do have the first 4 bans already happening. Visage wasn't one of them. However, the Tusker is definitely out by now.
Yeah, he managed to slip in, but then VG Gaming get, like we're talking with the whole Bristleback with the Wisp combo, how crazy he is, but you get both Dazzle and Bristleback down as the first 2. Hardy, dude, what's going on?
I'm dying.
It's hot here. It's hot
here. You're just steaming up.
Just
steaming. So that's the Ruby pickup. So that's you know, sort of the trade-off. When Bristleback and Dazzle is in the pool, and you know you can get it, because there's no way Dazzle is going to go through the ban phase when you already pick up the Bristleback. So that's the trade-off. They like, okay, we have to give Rubik over to Virtus.Pro, and I feel like it's a good trade for them.
I generally think the opening of VG is very solid.
Yeah.
Like you can put Bristleback into the carry position. He can still be an offlane position, still be a mid position as well. Whereas he functions very well with the Dazzle together, just because of his ultimate.
Yep.
And you just have a physical core with these two heroes. They have pretty much the physical damage covered in an AoE as well. On the side of VP, the one thing that stands out to me is that it's a Shadow Fiend on the Dire side. It's not just as good as on Radiant, but they seem to be as comfortable with it.
I think it's the go-to for G when, guess what, Quap and Lesh are banned. So it's like they already banned out G really hard in the first phase, and VP want to secure that they at least get a hero for G. If they don't overall first phase pick the Shadow Fiend, I think VG would have grabbed it +1, and then all of a sudden maybe Virtus.Pro don't feel so comfortable. Although they have played just Lina versus Shadow Fiend, for example.
Yeah.
G has an incredible Lina, so
I'm actually surprised, first of all, as you were saying, by the fact that Virtus.Pro picked it up as the first pick. And then secondly, I can't at all fault VG Gaming for picking the Spirit Breaker. I just assumed that Virtus.Pro would have favored to ban it out rather than the Wisp. Just because I don't know. Obviously, Wisp is still good in conjunction with the Dazzle and the Bristleback. I just feel like Spirit Breaker was such an obvious pick for VG Gaming. I personally feel it's a strong pickup against the Shadow Fiend, because you have to be fearful wherever you go on the map. And it sort of forces the enemy to go into a 5-on-5 earlier than they may want to.
They still have an option to pick a Clockwork instead, though. So I wouldn't... It's not too easy to just ban out a Spirit Breaker. Like, Clockwork can be just as fearful in the mid-game that a Spirit Breaker can be. I think on the side of Virtus.Pro, to point out is that the AA first is a good combination here with a Rubik. Like, it's a solid combo that works together as a roaming duo, as well as having AA as a counter towards the Dazzle heal. Which
that's a good point. The A is actually a very good pickup.
the main issue for VP is that their two supports are food for Storm, and that's why they just chose to grab it here. If you don't get telekinesis by the Rubik, like if you have an Orchid, you just solo kill either of these two supports with ease. Like there's pretty much no counterplay.
So now, we got an Earthshaker going.
Jacob's going to be happy with
I
this.
was about to point out how when you pick up Spirit Breaker and Storm Spirit, 9 out of 10 times you will already have the strongest ganking potential of the two lineups, regardless of what you're playing against. The minus being if the enemy team has a Wisp. There's no Wisp in this game, obviously, so what the natural step to against this would be the Earthshaker, sort of to nullify ganks. Not so much, though, like with the Storm Jump, it's not really a big threat. It's pretty good against Spirit Breaker. More importantly, Earthshaker is just good at, you know, resetting ganks on lanes or goes on lanes, but I think this is an off-lane Earthshaker.
It looks to be the case, but how are you meant to do an off-lane Earthshaker when you've got what I assume is a support Spirit Breaker actually running around?
I think they'll safe lane the Shaker and run aggressive tri-lane. I think this off-lane Dire Earthshaker is going to be pretty
You're going to need someone really aggressive to go with the Rubik and the AA then. Like, I don't know if...
Yeah.
Like, who could you even get? Like, someone that can combo with the Rubik, like Mirana or someone? Like,
you don't necessarily even have to have a stun follow-up to telekinesis. You just need to have any sort of meaningful slow, or just someone who attacks fast with Chilling Touch. I could see something like a Weaver working. I think it's a little risky against Spirit Breaker Storm, but it is a go-to hero for Illidan, so it could be the choice.
I was going to say that
I'm not sure.
I did not think that it's going to be an aggressive tri-lane.
I don't think so either.
For the fact that you have... Why would you give a Shaker a one-on-one scenario when on an off-lane he's rather a weak hero to begin with? Yes, he can fissure the lane and get some experience, but it's not a hero that would actually dominate the lane or
Shaker
get much out of it.
Shaker versus Spirit Breaker is fairly even, though, right?
Yes, but why do you want to...
Totem.
I feel like, why do you want to give Shaker that opportunity where he can potentially form a Blink and be that scary factor for Storm, whereas right now Storm feels almost nothing but telekinesis. Like, you would only give them that opening to potentially farm that dagger, which is very needed on the side of Virtus.Pro, I think.
But wouldn't you give him that by putting him safe lane one-on-one? Is that not how he farms his Blink?
Oh,
like, that's
you mean like the other way?
Yeah, he is safe laning against off-lane Spirit Breaker. And then you put an aggressive tri-lane with Silencer Rubik AA?
Which is 100% what VP is doing.
With the Silencer pickup, I think so too. I didn't think so until they picked up that Silencer. Well, all right, predictions?
I say VP is going to win, actually. 38 minutes.
It's not a bad timing. I'd actually go with a pretty similar timing because VP just looks so strong, and I know they're effective. Like, it gives me flashbacks to the old Team Empire aggro tri-lanes. Like, it's just so damn strong and can get so much momentum. If they run an aggro tri-lane, which it looks like they could, but Phobos is down here on the bottom lane, then I'd probably say it could be actually GG by 32, 33 minutes. But if they don't, VG Gaming have got so much potential in the late game that they could win by 50. It's going to take time, but they could win by 50.
So what was your call?
I'm doing both.
What?
That's not allowed.
I can have both.
That's not how this
Dude,
works.
if I want a taco.
My prediction is either of the teams will win, and one of them will either win late or the other one will win early.
Yep.
It's like
Perfect. Best of both worlds.
there's not that many outcomes remaining.
Okay, I'm gonna go with VG Gaming because I can see VP running an offlane Earthshaker. I'm going with VG by 50.
All right. Well, we'll see what they're going to do, and we're going to get more predictions in. But once more, I want to remind everyone out there, don't miss out on all the action. On Saturday and Sunday, you can actually join us in Frankfurt in the stadium to watch those amazing games happening. And you can purchase the tickets on ESL1.com, so make sure to grab one before they are all out. And yeah, quick guys, your predictions?
I would say on the side of VP, the last pick was very smart. I think they did not expect the silencer pick. I yet have an issue with them not contesting. I think giving the room away where silencer is not going to be that active hero to force them out of the lane, it's going to be tough for them to secure the mid game against that roaming potential of Vici. So I would go with Vici winning here.
Yeah, I think Vici as well. I just don't see them having the damage potential to take down both Spirit Breaker, Bristleback, and the Storm Spirit. So the later this goes, the more items they accumulate, the less chance there is for VP to actually win.
But I would like to point out, I think that Storm will have a rough time in the mid game, especially because he will be forced into an early BKB. Or an Eels. It's one of the two, but Eels really is not that great of an item.
All right, giving it over to the casters.
Cool. Let's get it underway.
I'll say Vici 40 minutes, because I think VP are a pretty strong team on high ground with this lineup, so it's going to take a while. But
I'd also keep your eyes very closely. So yeah, we'll take it over from here, but it's the silencer play. Like, this almost kind of feels a little bit like how we underestimated Bloodseeker. Like, I saw what Empire was capable of doing previously. Of course, Illidan is no mug on the silencer. If you give him a little bit of space, a little bit of damage, he's going to control up everything. And I don't know if we'll ever hit the point where we'll have like an Aghadim's Refresher over on this silencer, but he's going to just completely cripple the Storm Spirit, the Bounty Hunter, the Dazzle at the early stage, because you've got no Shallow Grave, you've got no survivability once you remove this.
Illidan plays a very different build, though, on Silencer. It's really interesting. He played it twice at Dream League when they played the core Silencer for them. And in both cases, he went Rod of Atos first, and then he went into Assault Cuirass Shivas, I believe.
Okay.
So he focuses a lot on getting the health and armor needed, which is a really interesting way of building the hero, because usually Silencer is considered like a glass cannon where you really need to time your global very well and make the most of it. And he just kind of he removes that problem by going for an item build that provides him with the tankability needed. And he still hits super hard because of the attack speed of Kiras. So it's a very interesting build that I personally like a lot. In the past, I've given Illidan a bit of flack for some of his skill build and item choices, but I think he's really found a very powerful way of playing Silencer.
And God, Lil has become basically his courier. The Bounty Hunter was looking for the sniper and is unable to get it. FNG also had a little bit of a trade-off with SCII, who decided to go a point-blank charge onto the Ancient Apparition. This CS on top, I should probably actually organize this by who's really on top, but look at the control from Illidan. He's managed to find 9 denies in this early stage, but again, the same thing could be said about the Storm Spirit. Hal's been given that safe lane Storm Spirit, and Phobos can't really do anything to really contest him. He's
at least got level 3 on the Shaker. I think Phobos is definitely getting as much as he should out of this offlane, given the circumstances. I'm not sure how much he's been using his fissure to block the wave and just make sure that it comes close to his tower. I've been mainly watching in the top lane so far.
FNG is going to be really sad about this top ward. He just threw down the sentry to try and find the blocking ward, but it's just a little bit too far to the east. So he's unable to control that. And if FY gets his timing right, okay, he's not. The courier is actually holding behind the tier 1 tower. They don't know where the bounty is. They wait for the 3-minute mark and then send it back with speed. Very, very defensive play here from VP. They are not wanting to let this bounty hunter play his game at all. But that's what we were talking about in the previous series today. You get a bounty hunter pickup, you just don't let him play his style of game. Now top lane, Illidan and FNG, they're down too far here. FY is coming in, they get a lot of support. Ice, very, very low, but Illidan not enough damage to kill him off. And now FY chasing up to FNG, they need a little bit more damage, and they do actually have it, but the pickup on FY, there's going to be a revenge kill. It's going to go the way of Lil, able to kill him off before the fade time can kick in for the bounty hunter. So it's a 1-for-1 trade-off, but VG Gaming TP'd one hero up for the first blood. That's fine.
And Illidan steals int. This is something we need to consider every single time there's an exchange up here. Stealing intelligence is a really big deal. And I don't want to say it's a VP win because, you know, they still gave first blood to the enemy team, but it's still a swing of attributes every single time. So from here on out, if VP trade 1-for-1 out of, you know, similar tier heroes as far as farm priority on the team, I think they're going to be happy with it.
Yeah. Especially when it's on critical heroes. Like, if you imagine if you start killing Bristleback over time and time again, you reduce his intel pool, which is only currently at 27. Like, the last one was obviously over on the Bounty Hunter who died. So his pool's down to 260, but it makes a big difference later on. Oh, God. They actually see FNG hiding inside the Fog of War. He'll be visible now, but it's the uphill ward going the way of God, not allowing Super to really control this middle lane much, and actually allowing the Shadow Fiend to get, I'm going to say uncontested farm in the mid, but he still managed to find 26 for 6. So the Shadow Fiend on the Dire side, which isn't as great as we've mentioned before because you can't just go to the easy camp and farm it up, he's still doing a really good job. And there's actually no stacks for him inside the Dire jungle, so there's no flash farming planned for God anytime soon.
They're still getting a lot out of their lanes, though, I feel, VP. They're not really accumulating much of a lead. They're a bit ahead on experience so far, and it's just because this Bounty Hunter roaming hasn't really been that successful in the first 5 minutes. They found 1 kill. They have not found the courier. Shadow Fiend is obviously doing fine mid, and Phobos is getting so much out of this bottom lane.
How did he get 13 CS? And even with Hal, he actually finishes him the same time he Soul Ring. So Hal loses about 2/3 of his life just walking into the Earthshaker. And he's about to finish up his Tranquils.
Well, that's one of the really nice things for Shaker about the big buff that Enchant Totem got a while back. The mana cost in level 1 being 20 allows him to get a lot of CS in this kind of lane where if he knows he's one-on-one against Storm Spirit, you know, in theory every 5th second he could take a last hit with that. But he still obviously can't do it all the time and needs to respect Hao's pressure a bit. But I would say this is definitely a good laning stage so far for VP.
Yeah. Should feel very, very comfortable with what they've got. Do we still look at, okay, so with the Orchid timing coming up on Storm Spirit, who does he initiate on? Like, who is the primary target that VG Gaming feel like they should be the ones shutting down?
I think Silencer would be great.
Oh, Spirit Breaker. Well, he's about to become a little bit more of a dumber cow. Illidan steals another 2 points of intelligence this time from him. Such a huge amount of burst damage between level 2 Fate Bolt, Chilling Touch, and you've got the Telekinetic Control and the burst damage. Well, I say burst damage, the increased damage from the Glaives of Wisdom. That's just so strong.
Interesting build from Illidan. I'm not sure if you forgot what level he got. He's not getting ult on level 6. That's, I don't think I've ever seen this before in a Silencer. It might be on purpose, though. They might feel like, well, we don't need global anywhere right now. It just seems like such a powerful ability to have up your sleeve if the enemy team tries to go for aggression, say on bottom lane, on Phobos or something like that. This gives him a little more kill potential in lane, but I think this was just a misclick, maybe. We'll see if he skills something else than global in level 7 too.
Well, if he doesn't feel like VG Gaming going to initiate, it's fine for him. Just focus on your laning phase, as you were saying. Like there's no problem with that. FY is not coming anywhere near you, so just increase your damage, ensure your kill.
And he is just bullying ISS. Look at that damage on the Glaives now. 40 per swing, bonus damage.
I still have flashbacks, and I've brought it up a couple of times already, but when Team Empire used to play this, they used to play it as a support hero, but it came a core so quickly just because of the intelligence that you would steal and the easy damage that you get from Glaives. It's got to be like one of the lowest cost amplifications you can get on any hero in the game. Like, it's just so strong. And normally, you don't even get like chip away at Spirit Breaker. He's just such a strong hero. But with the Glaive buff up, you actually do damage to him, even with Stout Shield and Strength behind him.
And one of the big differences is, of course, it is an orb attack. So when it comes to controlling the lane equilibrium, it's one of the biggest benefits of playing a hero like Silencer in the safe lane. It's just that you know you can always harass without, you know, the enemy starting to get any sort of grip on the lane position. It is very, very good here for Illidan. Let's see, he's going to crack level 7 soon. What's the status on everyone else? Lil's level 4, FNG 3.5. On the Radiant side, Fenrir 4.5 on Dazzle, and what was the bounty at? 3, almost 4. So I think, all in all, experience pretty even. Looks like Vici pulled a lot of it back here. I'm guessing they took a big stack.
Yeah, they were doing the Ancient stack with the Bristleback. Yeah. Beyond that, there wasn't much more, though. But they did pull back like 500. Actually, that's almost 2,000 experience in a very short space of time.
Now they're going to give the support's a little bit of space, it looks like. So mid lane, Bounty is going to still stay here against AA. So both sides wanting to find their level 6s on the supports. Definitely very important for, I want to say especially for the Radiant to get this track up, because they're going to start looking for kills with Storm as soon as they can, and they definitely need track available at that time. At the same time, Dazzle is leeching bottom. So Fenrir up to level 5. Pretty quiet game so far. I'm wondering what the timing window is for VP, what they're trying to accomplish after farming this is top lane. They're going to lift Ice. He could probably just charge away from this.
Yeah, maybe he can. In fact, he will. Silencer able to get that curse off, but it's a level 4, and he was still able to run away in time. But doesn't go too far, just down the river a little bit. Yeah, I don't really feel like VP are pressured to hit a timing, though. Like, if they find a kill on Spirit Breaker, fantastic. If Bounty Hunter keeps roaming around, that's cool too. Just keep God alive. Phobos is playing such a great game on bottom lane. He's finished up his Soul Ring. They're sitting back in the stash at the moment, so he'll need the courier to bring it out. But with Soul Ring as well as Tranquil Boots, he's perfectly alright just doing his own thing on the bottom, as we'll have ourselves a little bit of a lag problem. And game will get paused, so we'll sit here and we'll reconnect it back in a moment. But like, so you can't stop the Earthshaker. He can even throw the lane back, so he's still finding levels, still finding farm and experience. The Silencer's having a great time up on top, where VG Gaming are having to force their way into Illidan, and now he's even got a VIP booster behind his name, so he's a little bit tankier. And I'm wondering if this is meant to be a Rod of Atos up against the Bristleback.
Oh, he gets Atos.
100%. All the time Atos.
I've cast 3 of his Silencer games. This is the 3rd in the last few days. He got Atos all 3 games. I think this is like... I'm renowned for not liking Atos very much. I think this is one of the absolute best heroes to get it on. And if you're very comfortable playing with it and you play Silencer like VP and Illidan do, it's a really good choice. Obviously, since the item was buffed quite a bit on stats, I can't remember by heart exactly what it does. Is it 250 health and 25 int, or is it 300 health now? It's been buffed a couple of times. Let me see. 350 health and 30 int, so never mind that. I'm thinking about even the old Atos. It's even better than I thought it was stat-wise. So you're getting 30 int and 350 health for the 3100 gold, which is really good. And it just solves the problems that Silencer innately has, especially when he builds into the armor item afterwards. So yeah, I think he would be getting it even if he wasn't against a Bristle, but that's definitely a big plus.
VP just TP an extra player in towards the mid, but it's FNG who's being chased. Ice doesn't have the charge on cooldown for 3 more seconds. And FNG running up high, Silence is on his way in. But VG Gaming, again, they lost the vision, so they couldn't get the charge off. And this TP into mid by Lil didn't really achieve much. In fact, Super's now come down to the bottom lane, so Phobos. Super arrives at the same time Phobos is missing. But with the 2 of them together, they can creep skip out. Creep skip it out. In fact, top lane looks like Ice is going to die. Illidan with another kill. And FY trying to man mode up against him. He doesn't have enough damage life to survive this. It's a double kill for Illidan. He's on 8 points of intelligence. Now they want to go for more. How? He TP'd in while on bottom lane. Super's looking for these quill sprays to keep coming out. But Phobos has Stomp as well as Echo Slam available. He could potentially have a crack here at Super if Super overcommits himself when the new creep wave arrives. But they'll just let it go for now.
The Radiant even lost their courier. This is really a dominating early game all of a sudden here for VP. They got another 4 intelligence on the Silencer of Illidan.
That courier had the point booster of How as well.
And they even hold the tower bottom. They lost nothing.
Nothing of value was lost. The Buckler is almost done for God, so while they're doing all this, you got the SF flash farming, and he's rapidly approaching that mech. VP's teamfight's looking really scary, and with the Earthshaker finding farm on the offlane, like it hasn't gone into having the Blink Dagger, which is obviously where Phobos wants to end up, but he's got every item he needs to have lane presence, which is probably a scarier thing for Phobos. The fact that the Bristleback can't 1v1 the Earthshaker down, even if he's got a little bit of help, so they'll try it with 2 instead. In comes your Spirit Breaker, Phobos. He can turn for the Fissure, and in fact the TP from the AA. It already dissuades VG from jumping in any further.
I'm just looking over the 2 lineups right now, and I feel like VG Gaming are in a lot of trouble with their early game not working out at all.
Oh, we're going again with another pause.
This Bounty Hunter and Spirit Breaker needed to find a couple of kills early on. The saving grace will have to be How this game on the Storm, who has great farm, but he's also under a lot of pressure. It's not that easy for him to engage now that when there's a Silencer available for VP who can always just counterplay him on the jump. And if he jumps the Silencer himself, there's still a Fissure or a Lift that can just counterplay the Storm. So looking at mid-game team fights, I have a really hard time seeing Vici Gaming pull it off. They need to find skirmishes, spread the map, and play to Storm's advantage. I mean, granted, yes, they have the weave. I don't think that's going to be enough. Look at the magic damage VP can output.
Yep.
Ice Blast, Fissure, optional Echo Slam, just a half-decent Requiem and the Radiant team's just going to blow up.
And what, VG Gaming, until you got BKBs, you can't do anything.
I really don't think they can teamfight at all until that point. I would agree.
But then you got to rush a BKB, so you got no control factor. The Storm Spirit's never going to get a pick off. The Bristleback can't, like, well, does the Bristleback even want a man fight at the towers? Maybe he then goes in, like, he's got a VIP booster at the moment. It could just be the Vanguard, he survives and through the whole attack, and then he comes out. But the Bounty, the Dazzle, and the SB aren't allowed the same luxury. I think the only hero which VG Gaming can really get a BKB on is the Storm Spirit to start with. The Spirit Breaker just has to survive when he runs in.
It's going to be difficult. I definitely believe VP have the tools, and with this early lead, I think they're looking at a very solid next 5 to 10 minutes, especially with this mech on Shadow Fiend up in, what's that, 80 gold or something?
Yeah, it's not much.
I think they might even start just sieging towers, just playing very aggressively and forcing Vici to fight them. Because Vici's lineup is not good at pushing either, so they can't just try to trade. The VP lineup will flat out be faster. And regardless of, you know, how tanky the Bristle will get with Weave and with his Vanguard and whatnot, these glaives are going to hurt. You can't avoid that pure damage. Sure, you can reduce it by turning your back, but that is not what you want to do this early with Bristle.
It really isn't. That mech is done now for God. I thought VP were going to force out the bottom lane. VG Gaming were hiding until the Shadow Fiend showed himself. He had an Invis Rune, was sitting in mid. VG Gaming actually had both Fenrir as well as Super. I think it was Super, sitting back behind that tier 1 tower in the mid lane until the SF revealed where he was. And it's not because they saw where he was moving. They did have a Radiant Observer Ward that was watching the top rune pickup, but they had no idea where he was going to go and when he was going to go. The Sentry Ward they used to de-ward their own ancient area, so they were able to have that stack come back again for the Bristle. But there's just so much... There's so much farm in the Bristle and the Storm Spirit that I'm just fearful that they can't really do much with it. In fact, Storm, with a Vit booster, I don't know if... So he's not going BKB.
He's going Bloodstone first. It's Hao's standard build-up when he's safe lane is to get tanky with that Bloodstone and be able to start stacking it up earlier in the game.
But what happens when VP pushes? Like, a Bloodstone's all well and good, but if VP now with this mech and Silencer, who's sitting in a very comfortable position, they could just force down the lane. You're going to lose these Bloodstone charges pretty quickly and maybe not even finish it.
Yeah, I'm seeing the same problem for Vici. I think Vici are down to a point now where they have to outplay. If they play as well as VP, I think they're just superior in teamfights right now. So they either, I'm still going to go with they need to find level 6 in the Bounty Hunter, and then they're going to need to move him and Storm together. And even if they just kill like these low-level supports, it's a way to get the money flowing.
Well, money's going to flow the way of VP as they bring down this tier 1 tower pretty soon. Because there's only the Bounty Hunter to defend. He's pretty bad at counter-initiating. Now Global Silence got off from Illidan. They got no stuns. The SB, however, will be outcharging. The pickup wasn't there in time from Lil, but now Illidan can try and turn this one. They bounce it back down again with another strike, but the Mecha arrives from God, and Illidan, he will go down to the Bristleback, but really at what cost for VG Gaming? They're on the run out of here. The heals from Fenrir is doing some work. He's also got Shallow Grave available as Storm Spirit jumps back in again. You want our play? I think he got it, Cinderin. God's going to drop the Death Ult. He will be killing up the Spirit Breaker, but Lil jumps himself away to safety with the Stolen Storm Ball, but in comes Phobos! The Echo Slam, the damage went down to Fenrir. There's no Shallow Grave, and Phobos is retreating out of here. In 6 seconds' time, he can go for that fissure. He's got one charge as well. Fenrir taking a little bit too much damage from the tower, but they will get out, but FY is coming in for the snipe pick. He runs up to check the lane, while Phobos runs south. The Observer Ward will be able to scout it out, which you'll see it now, but it's already too late. Phobos is away to safety.
That was such a well-planned gank for VG. They got exactly what they wanted. They jump in with the Storm to force the global and make Illidan think he's going to just global TP out, and the charge still reaches him just in time.
If Lil got the grab, that fight would have been completely different, however. Because then it would have been VP falling back.
Right there. That is exactly what they needed. Very well planned, very well executed. And VP still almost managed to win the fight. Like, it was pretty close. But the fact that G has to port in and use the mech on trying to only save the Silencer means they don't have it later on in the fight when the big spread damage starts coming out from the Bristleback.
Bounty is leeching more out of the Silencer. Same time, Bristleback's going to end up denying up that mid tower. The bottom lane's being fairly heavily pushed, but Illidan's being charged in by Ice. He'll pull out. Doesn't want a bar of it. But the rest of VP really want to take this tier 1 tower in bottom lane, and Hao is the only man defending it. And he's the one man that will probably be able to survive unless he gets hit by a fissure. Then perhaps Lil can get himself in range for a telekinesis grab.
Well, Lil has ball lightning right now.
Okay, so maybe he can just get in range for a telekinesis grab by himself. He doesn't really have a great mana pull, though. Well, if he had Arcane Risk, maybe.
Start harassing here. There are the ports. This is... See, this right here is how Vici want to play all the time. Apart from if this guy dies, then that is not. Okay. Well, almost like that.
he probably wasn't ready for the ball lightning. Meanwhile, FNG, he got the Ice Blast over on Bristleback, so there's no regeneration coming in for Super, but the damage from God isn't really enough. Now the Fissure will arrive. Raze is coming off cooldown in a moment, and there goes one Raze. Fenrir needs one more attack for him to drop, but they won Super. Ice charging in, cancels God. He was thinking of either Raze or Requiem. Either way, Super keeps running out with the bag turn, the bottle charging up. Now in comes Hao, chasing after God. Requiem starting up, but they've got the distance and the Global Silence both be committed, but very minimal effect. Super still wants to keep running out of here. There is no Echo Slam from Phobos. 10 seconds on cooldown. No Fissure either. The control factors are just not here from VP. They're being kited out, and now the Bristleback loves these kind of situations until Phobos fissures back up. Fenrir in the trees. They get the stun. He's so low. 67 HP, but where's your follow-up damage? FNG, this fight's gone so long, he's got his Ice Blast back off cooldown again. Now he might try and turn on top of Hao. Ball Lightnings, no more mana left. The Echo Slam, mistiming it, but they still get a 1-for-1 trade for the SB for the Earthshaker, while Super in the tree line. Shallow Grave will let him fight up against Illidan. Illidan really just wants him dead. One more Glaive will do the work. Super so low, there goes your Glaive, and there's the work being done. More intel his way, while the battle rages on. Fenrir into the tree line. God didn't get the raids off, actually got pulled away. He was focusing more on Hao at the time, so the damage hasn't been done. The track is up, and it's pinging on both sides as the Rubik was stealing it too. So they got the vision. Illidan picks up the double kill. Hao will TP out Fenrir in the tree line, so they know where he is too. And God comes on down. Is there a stun? Is there damage? No, there's not. That is the end of the fight, and they'll take the tier 1 tower, potentially.
This is really, really high skill play by both teams in these kind of fights. The movement around, the way they plan around their cooldowns, and the way they communicate, you could just tell how they're taking one step at a time in these fights and not getting overexcited, going greedy for kills, but rather playing it very, very solidly. And again, I gotta commend VG on how they're playing these fights as well. It's just, they're kiting them so well, and they're planning ahead for every play, where, you know, it seems like they're thinking one step further than VP, even though VP are playing the fight great, and I think they probably came out on top in that. That's still really, really impressive to watch.
No.
VP's teamfight is way stronger, but VG are actually playing fairly evenly with them in teamfights. This wasn't even really a skirmish.
No. But it kind of felt like it, because it was just like one person was a little bit too far out, then you try and get him, but you don't fully commit to it. And the second that ulti came back off range in Apparition, you can see VG Gaming with the timing perfect. They just ran away. Now they're in trouble with the Rod of Atos, the Fissure, and the Ice Blast, and Track Kill.
+2.
Yep. We're up to +18.
Every time
I really wish we could
now,
see who he stole it from.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Because these mana pools might be heavily affected. Like, you'll have to start doing the math for what mana pool should be there.
Spirit Breaker barely has enough for do his power right now. He's down to 260 mana, and he needs 125 to, or 225 to use both spells.
Yep.
So
I'm assuming his death count is pretty high.
He's almost too dumb already. He can't port and use his spells. Like, he needs to stick in between. That's unfortunate.
That life is just really hard for him.
Earthshaker almost has a blink. And right now with the track stolen for Rubik, he's going to keep looking for a couple of more kills with this until it expires, I think.
Well, you got to remember too, during that engagement, he was getting it off the entire time, Lil. So, like, even gold-wise, yeah, VP, it's a bit of topsy-turvy. Like, there's now the biggest gold we've seen in a while, which is just over 1,000 going the way of VP. And it's about to become a lot more as this tier 1 tower just drops. And VG have no desire to fight this at all. The Ice Blast comes down to bottom lane to try and slow this down, but Super's got a double damage rune. You're not slowing anything. And in middle lane, Hao's attacking into the tier 2, but VP are just balling it in. They want this tier 2 tower down. They want to be able to expose somewhere. And now even Dazzle stealing Weave. VG Gaming will not fight this. But with a double damage rune on Super, the trade-off's really not that bad. Like, you're going to lose your tier 2 tower here, sure. But you brought the bottom tier 2 tower down to half-life, the mid tier 2 tower down to half-life, and VP are going. they're actually not waiting. They want to come high ground 20 minutes into this game. The Observer Sentry drops down, so they CFY, Fissure, Ice Blast, he's dead before it even begins. That Shallow Grave will not protect him long enough, so he will end up dropping here, popping behind the tier 3 tower.
No buyback.
Oh, that's even bigger.
I think they're Rexing. Like, what are VG going to do now?
They can't do anything, because there's no counter push. The Storm Spirit could potentially just go for the jump. In comes the Spirit Breaker. Yeah, they have a crack, but Ice picked up, throwing down with Requiem. He's already on the sideline, down for the count. And Global Silent Super, well, he wants to try and come in. In fact, it's going to be how to do the jump, pulling back Illidan. They're just controlling up this Silencer. He's almost down for the count. In fact, he is too. The buyback comes in from Spirit Breaker. God stands his ground. Raise number 1, raise number 2. How so low? And he actually denies himself off with a Bloodstone. A little bit more life. God, he's still got the Aegis more, so Nether Strike wasn't really going to do much. And the Ice Blast back off cooldown for FNG. Watch this opening, because with a charge from Lil, they control up Super, they pick him up, they throw him down. The Ice Blast, the Cold Feet, Cold Snap, is holding him in position while God just battles to his own death inside the base. They'll TP away to safety. They do not take the racks. They inflict damage into the range, and now is actually semi worth it for VG.
Yeah, they end up killing 2 and getting the Aegis, and they lose 2 and buy back 1. And to me, a really crucial part about this fight is, again, how they kite around, they stack up Coil Sprays over time, and they managed to kill the Silencer because G did not have mana for the mech. I think that would have been a very, very different fight had he planned for that and been able to pull it off. But VG, they do hold. Really impressive once again. And now it's going to be, this item is so crucial for them. BKB on the Bristleback. This could be the start of them being able to reliably teamfight even without buybacks.
There's also the other option though. Now you got this Blink Dagger over on Phobos. He could be initiated on before he gets the BKB off. And the Shadow Fiend's now got immunity during the fights. His BKB is done as well.
I'm wondering if they would have put the Aegis on Silencer, if they would have Raxed there. Because I don't know if Vici Gaming could actually kill the Shadow Fiend twice even that easily. Or Silencer, sorry. Like, if they wanted to, if Shadow Fiend did not have the Aegis, could they have focused him down, is my question. He didn't have the BKB on him, so maybe. But how much damage would they have output with the Silencer in that case?
It could have been a hell of a lot more, you're right. I'm also interested to see what happens too once this Silencer gets the Disable up and running. Because he's actually not going for like BKB and the ability to stand it during the fights. It's a full Scythe of Vice is the build-in for the Silencer. Obviously, you always want to have more intel on this hero. That's where your damage just completely skyrockets.
I'm wondering why he's not going for his Kairos build in this game. I feel like it would be really good, actually.
Maybe
the AoE armor against Bristle. Just armor in general against both Storm and the Spirit Breaker is great. Against Weave, you really want that armor.
But you got no extra control up against the Storm Spirit. Charge coming into Ice just gets him in range for the telekinesis and then stun. Cold Feet, Ice won't get away from this one.
+2. Illidan's like, I'm helping. He just walks in and steals the mana. All right, Ice. I think he almost has to play Int Treads now to have his spells.
Is he really that dumb?
He's died 6 times. I think he's died to this with Silencer in the AoE every single time.
Look, they're going to come in through top lane again. Spirit Breaker's down for 23 seconds. They know this because Spirit Breaker bought back during the last push. The Ice Blast is going to stop Power from forcing in the bottom lane. In fact, even if he TP's back, he's still going to take some time to regenerate his health back up.
That's a key ability on cooldown, though. I think VP needs to be a little careful. Although they do have, of course, the BKB on G and the Blink on Phobos. So they might be able to find a big team fight. And I think VG are in a position now where, well, what buybacks do they even have?
VG? Nothing. VG, they have Bristle and Storm, but VP
Storm will buy his BKB now. They only have the buyback on the Bristle now. So if they take a bad fight, they're going to lose 2 lanes.
And in fact, VP aren't willing to take anything.
Both, actually, wow. They've got the tier 3 in the top lane without taking the tier 1 in the bottom lane. And the tier 2 in mid is also still standing with full health. So
it's money you'll get later, man. You go down there and finish it off. Looks like God's going in for what looks to be Manta. I would highly doubt we get a 25-30 minute SMY. This time Lil gets Shuri.
It's not that good of a spell when you don't have tracks up first. Of course, if he did have track and he tracked a couple heroes and then stole Shuriken Toss, it could make for a really big teamfight play.
At least it's a nice mini stun with some bonus damage.
Decent.
It's still 375 damage coming in with already your 280 damage Fade Bolt. But that's not bad burst. And now, well, they might find Super. Pick him up, throw him down. Okay, they commit the Echo Sensor, no BKB. Silencer finds the kill. And now up to +24. A lot more than 2.
It's worth it to echo that, I think. It's a 50-second on the sideline for the Bristle. They can get the bottom tier 1 for sure. If Roche was up, they would be able to claim that as well, but this is definitely the right direction. VP are playing this game really, really well. I think a lot of people expected going into this tournament that VP would be one of the underdogs, but they have been looking really hot recently, and it's really good to see them bringing a fight to one of the established top teams right now.
God being charged, no mana for Nether Strike. He has 7 stick charges, which would have given him enough, but they're not going to commit. Instead, Hao is again doing the split push kind of play as the Storm Spirit, and Illidan has to come back to defend it. Hao potentially could jump for this, but he has no desire at all. In fact, they're pinging out, saying, can we have a crack over on Lil? But he's still got forced up, so his range is enough. FY is going to give him the vision for this. And potentially gets a track off. Yeah, he will do so. But they're not going to get anything more than that. Everyone's just backing up, keeping the farm going. It's amazing how much Hal's got. Like, every single time it looks like VP are in a position where they could just stand and fight. Hal's somewhere near a tier 2 tower or crib sipping out, forcing someone from VP to move back. He just jumps from lane to lane and just static remnant pushes.
He can split push very confidently as long as he knows where mainly the Shaker is, honestly, because sure you've got global, but I don't think you have enough burst damage between the other heroes unless it's like a 3 or 4 man gank, but then it's very obvious. So as long as he knows where Shaker is, he can push out this bottom lane. And now we're looking for a different play here. They're smoking up Dazzle and Storm. So trying to go on the aggressive. As he's building into an Orchid, by the way, as 3rd item. This is a very unusual Storm build-up. But I think it's pretty good. They need some sort of lockdown to take the fights better. Well, a silence.
I thought he might have actually wanted to go something more like, whoop, hello, jump up to FNG, the drag back, and then, well, the kill's going to be there. Lil, what can he steal? Actually stole Remnant. FNG so low, he'll at least get the Ice Blast off, and, well, that's not a very happy Spirit Breaker. He's dropping low, the Cold Feet does manage to trigger, but Phobos, the chase is real, the track is up, the Echo Slam control with a totem follow-up. Phobos back almost to his tier 4 towers as Lil pick him up, and How he can't get the AoE stun on him, but How is so low, he wants to jump. God needs one more attack to finish the job, and there it is from the Razors. They win so deep from this one. VG Gaming even losing the Bristleback to the Silencer, plus more than 2 as they go after FY. Shallow Grave will keep him alive for now. He can turn for the stun. And Ice, where the hell are you? No, okay. he started to charge for a fraction of a second on Illidan, but they'll both retreat out of here.
Nice fight by VG. They
ends up being pretty even though.
They got about 1,000 gold for that.
Was it still worth it going that? Like, you're going fairly deep inside the base behind the tier 3 tower, and did minimal damage to it.
So they trade. They traded 2 BKB charges for 1 on the Shadow Fiend, and they got 1,000 gold. And Storm ended with the same amount of Bloodstone charges as he started with. So I think it's worth it. If nothing else, just delaying the game, right? They want to prevent VP from reaching their own base. So as long as they take the fights up here, they're pretty much in the clear on that account.
Let's be worried with more of these kills coming out. The Silencer surviving every single time. He's becoming more powerful.
Oh yeah, we need to consider that they lost Int, so maybe not worth it after all. I mean, we're harping on it quite a bit, but this is really playing into Silencer's advantage.
It's a huge factor, man. It's a huge factor.
He has a Mystic Staff right now, passively, from these kills. So that's decent. And it's obviously a Mystic Staff that the enemy team has lost to.
Oh, wow. Lil, he actually felt him coming in, and now FY dead to the world. And
Plus
that's every time.
It's Roche too.
That's all Illidan is. That's his catchphrase going into this game. But God, he saw How just jump over on the cliffside, and Roshan's not even up yet. How's gonna have a look? He's like, wait, this guy should be up.
Oh, if he sees it, but the Dire don't, maybe they can make a play out of that. But they'll need to. Yeah,
he sees it.
Silencer pinged it. How does he know?
Well, he's probably just pinging the fact that How's around here and hasn't left, because their observer ward's watching from bottom river. So they actually have perfect vision on How.
Oh yeah,
because the observer ward that's there, so they know he's there. Lil can actually get the grab. The second that Hal wants to jump in, they'll have vision of what he's doing. In fact, there it is. Pick him up, throw him down, Ice Blast it up, and Hal just gets taken out. That one lane ward in the bottom and Super still decides to run in pretty close. The SB is charging in. He's going after God, but can they really jump for this one? In comes Ice, bumping him back, but no one at the top. Echo Slam is available. The Fisher 1 second on cooldown, but they've already done the work. Ice is down. Super's BKB will protect him. The Aegis more like she got snatched out by the SF. VG Gaming got the last hit on it, and Lil actually gets up on the cliffside, picks him up, throws Super back down again to the river. He's just trying to get the last quill spray off to kill FNG. FNG, he's got the range on him. It's a triple kill for the Shadow Fiend of God, while Fenrir, controlled by Phobos. If he needs to, he can Echo Slam, but why do so when Silencer can get +8 for the fight? He's up to 36 stolen intelligence at the moment, and has 23-11 on the board.
Curious to see what Illidan buys now. I think he might be running for a Hyperstone here. Yes. There we go. So this is his Kyrus build. After the Hex, I think, like you said, he goes for this change in the build just because of the Storm, else I do believe it would have been the Kyrus. This is getting really scary now for VG, and like you're looking at the golden experience, I can't believe it.
They're going to have a solo kill at the moment.
These graphs are like nothing, but it just feels like VG's
Phobos
lead is growing.
They force-staff him up. The chase after from Hal, and yeah, Phobos isn't going to do anything about this. FY was just stalking him. So this is... You're right.
Look at that. Like, how does that make sense for what's going on in this game?
This reminds me of a squeeze box.
It's got to be track that just keeps them in it.
Ice Blast is coming down.
No difference.
There's no one else near for this.
So what's the distribution of gold? So Shadow Fiend is marginally ahead of Storm. Silencer's marginally ahead of Breaker, or of Bristle, sorry. And then Shaker is quite far ahead. It's basically FNG being the little bit of a bottom scraper here that's evening things out as much as it is, but he's okay with that, honestly. I think FNG is doing what he needs to do. Getting an axe would be great, but I don't think it's a requirement right now for how the fights are running. And we need to remember, looking at graphs is really skewed when Silencer is passively getting net worth without having it, right?
Yep.
So they're further ahead than the numbers show just because of his strength relative to his wealth.
So what, you want to give him like an extra 3.5 grand?
I don't feel like that's I feel like that's pretty accurate, actually. He's worth 3K more than it shows right now in terms of overall teamfight strength.
So we've got a Shadow Blade coming out from God, and in fact, wait, I think he meant to disassemble later on, and then he'll... And then he'll go in for that Silver Edge, and that's a real problem for Super.
Absolutely, I think it's the best choice here is to get Silver Edge and Manta, and then go for a damage item afterwards. I agree with this 100%.
You'd actually still get... Oh yeah, so you just convert the Usher into a Manta.
Yeah, because you already have it, right? So you might as well. Or he could choose not to do it.
You just go for something like a Skadi or something.
Yeah, he could keep the... It's still a good item, right? You just keep the Yasha slot and you get something else. But wouldn't mind seeing a Manta either.
Couple of pings coming out right now from Ice. He's watching it closely, but Super's taking the tier 2 tower on the top. The fortification will slow it down. And in fact, the TP's on the way in. And it's going to be Illidan. Take the aggro, can't get the denial though. So the tower still goes the way of VG Gaming. It's still kind of anyone's game depending on who can find this initiation. Like VP is still looking fantastic. But I don't want to count out the ability of, like, if you can survive through the global silence, then maybe the Dazzle can do enough work with the shallow graves at the right time. You keep your teammates alive. The Bristleback's already pretty damn tanky as it is. And the Storm Spirit, okay, we're not looking fantastic for Hal, but the Orchid is now done. So 33 minutes in, you've got your Orchid. You actually get Greaves over on FY. So you're getting a survivability coming in from the Bounty Hunter, and it's only going to take an even trade for VG Gaming to get more money, primarily just because of the track. But you have to keep this Bristleback away from the Shadow Fiend.
I'm wondering what item is bigger, the Orchid on Storm or the Silver Edge on Shadow Fiend. He can't really... So the biggest play, I think, for Super, or How, excuse me, is probably to... If he can jump Orchid the Silencer and they can take a fight off the back of that, that could be absolutely huge because he can't global for those seconds. However, if he Orchids anyone else, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. Like, then you just global over it and you take the fight during it. So it needs to be... It's an item that has very high potential, but it needs to be executed very well. Something like this is a good start.
Yep, killing off Phobos. At the same time, there's 4 heroes running up right behind you. And what's Lil Stolen? It's Remnant. So we can get some vision inside the tree line, but you've already got double TPs out, FY is out to safety, and of course the Storm TP. Hal will also get back out. And this is the same time as the Spirit Breaker now has a BKB. So Ice is going to be a larger factor during the fights too.
I feel like there's almost, you know, might be one of the things that separates like the very best teams from the really good ones. I feel like the type of game that VG Gaming are playing right now, there are only 2 other teams in the world that could play like this right now, and it's EG and Secret. Like, when you're under pressure and the enemy team has superior team fight, they're using the map extremely well with how they're like distributing resources, how they're distributing farm, how they think ahead before they take fights. It's just very impressive to watch.
The gem from Lil, the pick up, the throw down. The charge will come in from Ice, but God's chasing after him.
All right.
Yeah, not going to happen. Very wise for VG to pull back. But it's still Bounty Hunter becoming dumber by the second. While Phobos is lapping up the money. So wait, we get Assault Cuirass on the Silencer, and Phobos is capable of affording something like a Shiva's Guard. Because he's walking around with, at this point, a casual plate mail.
Yeah, he could also get a... why is the word eluding me? Lotus Orb for this?
Yeah.
If he wants. It's not great, but it's also definitely not a poor choice. He'll be able to remove track. He would be able to reflect a couple of pretty cool spells, such as Charge, which is hugely situational, but Nether Strike is actually a decent reflect, I guess. He would be able to purge a Hex that a Storm will inevitably get. He has, more than this, has to make that as part of his build. So it might be in a prep for that. Or, like you said, he just gets the Shivas, but I think they want that on Silencer anyway, so the question is if they want to double up on it.
Probably not the greatest, too. Like, you still want to find a little bit more dynamic.
That's How's in a good position here.
He could try and jump Illidan. The problem is if he does, Phobos is going to destroy him. And, well, this is the vision the Dice has. They don't see anything inside the tree line, but How only sees Phobos and just the edge of Illidan. He doesn't want to get too close with this. He's probably more interested to see where the rest of the team are, because God, okay, they're actually walking underneath the Observe Ward on top. Even though Lil's managed to find Shadow Walk, so this Rubik is currently hunting better than Bounty Hunter does, because he's got the Gem of True Sight in him as well. So he'll get perfect vision on the Bounty if he could just accidentally walk over him.
Oops.
Found ya. Pick him up, throw him back down again, still the same Ghost Walk or track. He'll be happy with that. They're actually checking every single... VP of this being so... I say thorough. Check every single nook and cranny. It's almost like they're playing Counter-Strike. Check the corners, man. Check the corners.
It shows great awareness of what's going on in the game and what the threats are to play it like this. I was praising Vici Gaming for how they were playing the map, but it's... I mean, if VP weren't playing an amazing game, they would have been run over by it, right? But they still maintain an even game. They're getting good farm. And yeah, this is quality stuff, man.
Yeah. We've really been treated to some quality Dota, but we expected nothing less with the team list we got for ESL One. And it's such good play. Like, we don't even care if they're holding strats. It's just a solid team play more than anything else.
It's going to be a Lotus, by the way, for Shaker.
It will be.
Did choose to go for that.
Awesome.
I think both items were good, so if it was the Shivas, I would have also liked that choice. It really depends on what they're trying to accomplish.
Well, right now, VP are looking to accomplish the Tier 2 tower on bottom lane. Shouldn't take him much to do so. So the Assault Cuirass is also arriving in for Illidan. So they've got their negative armor to push down the buildings. And where is the rest of VG coming? In fact, VG Gaming, they're going to go for the Yale wraparound. See if they can come in from behind the VP line, catch out Phobos in the back. Even killing him off is going to be pretty difficult, but God's already taken the Tier 2 tower, so they've lost this advantage. FY's coming in from the front lines. The Vortexes, well, that's going to reveal how. Jumps in, finds FNG. The Ice Blast flies very much astray, but then the Global Silence goes to work. What are they going to get? It's a charge in from Lil, and then FNG still alive through all of this. They finally bring him down, but the Storm Spirit is forced to buy back. A charge in again from Lil, over on top of Super. The Echo Slam perfectly hits from Phobos, controlling FY, and well, what is this Storm Spirit really going to do? He's walking half the way, then waiting for the jump, but he's already lost the Bristle back. So, well, Bristle is down, Bounty joins him. Hal sits in the tree lines, potentially he can get a quick pick off on Illidan. But he's going to be worried about this control factor. They're charging in, Lil chasing up to Fenrir with the telekinesis pick up and throw back down again. He actually steals Shallow Grave at this point, and Fenrir, one more attack from Illidan, doesn't even need to. He's got 46 points of intel stolen from VG Gaming's heroes, and they're just looking to beat down the tower as I get to lag up, and we'll have ourselves a quick pause as VP are coming high ground. But the Storm Spirit is still sitting in the back lines. Okay, How's actually here to creep skip. He's not even here to fight. He's just here to creep skip up against VP. But what does VG Gaming got that can mop up the creep wave, or even stop VP from taking the racks?
Creep skipping doesn't really work when there are creeps in the base. So
problem. Because backdoor regen's already turned off, so they'll finish the job before they leave.
They can probably get 2 lanes. If they feel confident that Vici don't have buybacks, they will take the spot lane and the top one. They can do that in like 20 seconds with their heroes, I would guess. There's no glyph. They would definitely know that, because they've been keeping track of that for sure. So this is looking really, really grim for Vici.
It really is.
And it's still incredible. Like, you're looking at the graphs, no team ever held an advantage bigger than 3,000.
And that's only just happened now.
Yeah.
That's only happened now. Even for the experience, it's pretty close. So everyone's back in again, and we'll hit that go button. So that range Rax's days are numbered, and the number is very low.
But I don't feel like it's that close in terms of actual value out of the money right now. I just think Vici are getting more bang for their buck with their heroes and what they can do, whereas VP are getting more bang for their buck, whereas Vici have had to itemize these 3 BKBs that VP essentially just outlast, and then after they've done that, their net worth is just way more valuable.
Get the hell out of there, Hal. Aghanim Scepter upgrade for FNG's now arrived. If the fight wasn't hard enough as it was, it's gotten even worse. And VP, can you actually check the Roshan timer, see how long we got left? Because I DC'd out, so I don't see. Okay, we've got 15 to 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So not long.
It's up in a moment.
So all VP have to do is just hang around, keep that control of the middle lane up, and then just pop into Roshan when they're ready. They can even just leave one of these silencer illusions inside the pit, and it'll survive long enough to scout out what's going on. And they got a 5-man smoke. Is this to go into... Okay, so Roshan's respawned. They could just slip themselves into Roshan, but instead Lil Forstaffs up, picks up Hal, throws him back with the Ice Blast. Hal can BKB, but it won't stop this damage, and Ice runs in, BKBs himself out, but the charge is there from Lil. The damage is almost enough to find the kill. The Glaive's going to fly across the map, but they're killing off Fenrir at the moment inside the tree line. Can I catch the Glaive? Yeah. All the way back to base. But this is just going to be a push for victory now from VP. Or at least for the mid-racks.
Which is pretty damn close to victory. They do have 1 range creep with them, so there's no backdoor protection right now. And G can just ball into this mid lane and start going to town. There's... Yeah, this is... I don't know how Vici could possibly hold this with 3 heroes.
There isn't a way. There really isn't. Like, the Bristleback's going to die the second he approaches because he's just going to get Silver Age and have his Bristleback broken. So it doesn't have that power. The BKB is down for Ice at the moment. And Bounty Hunter, well, he's a couple of tracks, but the rest of it is just Greaves. And VP are taking triple rack, so they can find 30 seconds. Super triggers the BKB, and he's chasing after Lil. The charge is on the way, but the 4-staff down. Ice. Hexed up, controlled up. Global Silence even here for Illidan. Ice is down for the count. They'll pick up Super, and this really should just be game with the Echo Slam and the Global Silence. GG is the call. 41 minutes and 40 seconds. VP 32 to 14. Looking solid, and I think I even get to win this one, don't I?
I'm off by 4 minutes.
Looks like Zoe's with Victor. I think I said 50. I think I said 50.
I said 38.
You said 38?
Yeah, I said 38.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Sick.
I know, right? So I'm on 2 points now.
What a strong game. What a really, really strong game from both teams. Like, they played really well.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's not like VG played bad at all. But VP had such a good early game, so well executed. Guys, what were your thoughts on both of those drafts and, of course, on the early game?
I mean, once again, I'll bow down to Lil's Rubik. I expected it at the start of the day, and he did not disappoint. But then, yeah, as you were saying, strong early game from VP, especially with the silencer getting a good thing going for him. And then what I found the most questionable was the fact that they chose to lane the Storm Spirit on the bottom lane up against the Earthshaker. It's not because Storm is not going to win that matchup. He is, but the main issue here is that the Earthshaker gets experience, all the experience he wants. He gets the basic items that he needs in order for him to complete a 18-20 minute Blink Dagger, which is, you know, it's not fast by any means, but it's enough. And I thought Vici took an unnecessary risk by laning the way they did, and you know, it kind of showed.
Would you agree with that, Honey?
I agree on the laning part. I think you put Shago in a position where he gets a one-on-one, he get just leech experience, whereas an offlaner in itself, he's not comparable, for example, to a Clockwork, where Clockwork is a bit better in that scenario, where he can fight supports as well. Shago can't really do anything. Like, he can block the wave, get experience, but he's going to have a much harder time in terms of getting like a dagger follow-up. Other than that, I think the last pick silencer was very strong by the side of VP. Maybe Vici could have expected that, but they weren't really too familiar with the drafts of VP, because I felt like against, especially having a core such as Storm, I think potentially more teams will think of picking that hero up, because it felt really strong. And to a point earlier where we were discussing the Lotus Orb on Shaker, I think the main reason for them to pick up the Lotus Orb on Shaker was to purge off the Orchids onto the Silencer, because Silencer did not want to build a BKB. So you have a Lotus Orb to purge that off, and then he still is free of using his global silence.
Oh, makes a lot of sense.
And it's a good point that Troels also made inside the game, that the fact that you force the opponent's hand in terms of what items to get. You know, they pick up the silencer and immediately they force out a first item BKB on the Storm Spirit and so forth, so that their net worth, albeit BKB being one of the better items in the competitive scene, you know, it's still things that you don't necessarily want to commit to at the time that you do, and because Silencer doesn't have to build a BKB, he can build other kinds of utility and damage items, which really showed here, because at the end of it, they came out slightly on top in the mid-fights, where they just sort of outlasted it until they reached a point of critical mass that VG could no longer deal with.
I mean, VG definitely took some good fights and some good trades, some not so good trades as well. However, I think around 30 minutes, you were wondering, like, what keeps VG in the game? Now, looking back, what do you think actually kept them in the game?
Well, obviously, track does quite a bit when you're exchanging kills. So that they had that going for them, but it felt like that was like the only thing Bounty Hunter contributed in this game again. I feel like this hero is being picked more than it deserves so far. Like, VG is like the best team in the world at playing this hero. Like, they have been showing some incredible performances. I don't know if they got caught off guard or if they just flat out got outplayed in terms of true sight and everything, but it didn't seem like it had much of an effect this game apart from the track.
It felt like Lil did more with the track than...
Yeah, it even got stolen.
I was gonna mention that. I feel like in the scenario where a Bounty was picked up and Rubik was picked up, Rubik usually is one of those heroes that's actually a decent counter towards a Bounty track, where a Bounty needs to watch out with his positioning on where he uses track, because often you've seen where FI was trying to always like do it on the walk away, so he would get out of range of the potential follow-up stealing track. And I think that's one of those key factors where Bounty Hunter gets a weaker pick as well.
I think the one thing all the Bounty Hunter picking teams have in common is the fact that they probably don't expect to be on such a back foot from the get-go. In every game we've seen the Bounty Hunter, he's sort of been on the receiving end very early on. Whereas if the games were a bit closer, like 50-50 when you go into the 20-minute mark, Bounty Hunter really comes into his own in the fact that you can allow yourself to do all the trades you want to in the world, and you'll still come out on top. And it just hasn't been the case in any of the games yet, because they've all snowballed before you really could put him into a decent use.
But with Bounty being such a risky pick, do you feel like that has anything to do with it being a best of one?
I do believe the response of VP was the more important part in that game, whereas when they pushed the top lane, where they even went towards the tier 3 tower, is that they just didn't care about the split pushing. They knew that they would push a lot faster, so they just committed to a push where you pick a Bounty Hunter and it's a good hero if you can get pickoffs, but if you make the decision, you push S5, and you know you push faster, it's really hard for you as a Bounty Hunter to do much in these fights.
We're talking about the Bounty Hunter. Another hero I feel is not really coming into its own the same way the pick priority seems to favor it is the Spirit Breaker. Sure enough, EG beat other way around. IG beat EG with it, but you could still question how much it actually did past the 15-minute mark or so in that game. And then in this game, I don't really feel Ice has had any presence favoring Vici in the game. On the other hand, he had a lot of presence favoring Virtus.Pro in the sense that he donated all his intelligence to them. So, Spiritbreaker, I'm not really sold on it being the greatest in this particular tournament. I mean, I know the hero in itself, and generally speaking, is incredibly strong, almost to the point where it's like, wow, it's just ridiculous playing against this hero. But from what we've seen so far, teams have a really easy way of dealing with it.
They came prepared, really. Like we were saying, like Taskar and SP are the heroes we were looking for this one, and VP knew what they're going to let through, and then they just came prepared for it. Like, so you had your Rubik, you had your Silencer, you knew you were going to take your intel, you knew you had your grab abilities, and Rubik loves Spirit Breaker because he's got another strike or charge, so he's very happy with both abilities.
And I think it's also just if you look at... he wasn't really good against the Dire lineup in general. Apart from like that one fight top where Vici bait out global and then he reaches charge, those kind of plays can be really good. But first of all, they're very hard to pull off. And secondly, if they just take a sudden fight where Spirit Breaker charges in, he can get stopped by Fissure, he can get stopped by Telekinesis. He can even reach his target and get the stun off, and then you just global and kill him. Like, he can't even nether strike afterwards. So he was forced into the BKB, which you generally want to build anyway, but he lost so many, he had so many deaths along the way that he got it way too late, because every single fight that you're used to being able to take with Spirit Breaker just doesn't work against Silencer.
It's another one of those heroes that where you have the expectancy of the game being 50-50 up until the point where you need the BKB, and it just never happens because you've already put yourself at so much of a disadvantage. The same way with Bounty Hunter.
Yep. And by the way, for those wondering what items Lil ended the game with, it was 2 javelins and 4 stout shields.
Yeah?
Perfect. That was his item build this game.
Well, and that took VP into the grand finals, where they will be meeting Secret. So let's take a look at the brackets to see where we are right now. Team Secret and Virtus.Pro in the upper bracket final. IG will go up against Evil Geniuses. VG Gaming will go up against Fnatic, which just won against Cloud9. And yeah, those in the lower bracket are playing it out for the 3rd place and the 3rd pick in that seeding tournament. And Team Secret and Virtus.Pro already are in the top 2. So one of them will get the first pick in terms of the brackets they choose for ESL One Frankfurt in Frankfurt. And the 2nd place gets the 2nd pick. So yeah, it's almost already decided who is out in the top there. And before we heading into the next game, we once more going to take a quick break.